Good morning, my name is Cassidy Powers and I'll be doing my presentation on Rachel Whiteread. Let's move on to the presentation. Rachel Whiteread. A memorial needs to be visible but not screaming. These two pictures are going to be of the Holocaust Memorial. A little bit about Rachel. Rachel was born on April 20th, 1963 in London, England. Rachel's mother was an artist, which is where Rachel first developed her love for art. Rachel's father was a geography teacher. She often mentions him in her work because his interest in industrial archaeology enabled her to look up. She is known as a sculptor and also known for her installation work. Some of the schools she attended were Brighton Polytechnic, Brighton Cypress College of Art, and Lemba Slade School of Fine Art. Moving on to her early work. Some of her early pieces started off small and feminine and mostly personal items before she decided to move on to something larger and more significant. Before dedicating her sculptures to a larger scale, she used to cast the air caught inside of an air water bottle, like on the bottom right here, or even the space underneath the bed, right here to the left. Moving on to her popular work. The first sculpture is going to be right here to the left. This is going to be one of her most popular sculptures. This is known as House. This is a life-size cast of a Victorian terraced house in London's East End. The whole house was casted in concrete. It was a group of houses that were up, and the government decided to give the people a space for a green play. And they were knocking down the houses, and she was really intrigued by this, and she decided to choose the last house standing where the man was evicted from. And she still decided to make this installation knowing that it was going to be destroyed by the government to keep with their project within the next 2 weeks. As mentioned before, this was one of her most known installations. Moving on to the Holocaust Memorial, this is a memorial to the victims of those who went through the Holocaust, and this piece consists of an inside-out library. A little bit more of her popular work. Moving on to Ghost. Ghost was one of Rachel's breakthrough pieces. In this piece, she tries to demonstrate that she in fact is an important contemporary artist. With this piece, she tries to mummify the air in the room. This is the inside of a living room. This piece, according to Rachel, causes the viewer to become the wall. This whole living room was made out of plaster, which I find interesting because we made our little chess pieces out of plaster. So to imagine the scale with all that plaster is crazy. Moving on to the bottom right, what's going to be Water Tower right here. Water Tower was Rachel's first public piece in the United States. She decided that she wanted to choose a good typical symbol of New York and went with a water tower. This piece is casted in resin. The translucent look captures the qualities of the sky, so depending on whether it's sunny, rainy, cloudy, whatever, it'll change the color and the brightness of the piece. And this piece basically becomes invisible at night because of the translucentness. Whiteread calls this work a jewel on the skyline of Manhattan. Moving on to Embankment. This piece is a reminiscent of a winter landscape. The way she developed or got inspiration from this piece was after she was it was experiences that followed her mother's death. After she was looking through her mother's things, she found this old worn cardboard box full of her mom's thing, and this gave her inspiration to use these boxes to develop her piece. With this one box and other larger scale boxes, she made the embankment. Moving on to her later work. After many endless trials and successes with small objects, Rachel decides to move on to a larger scale. Not only did size change, but so did the object she chose to mold. It changed from personal and specific objects like the hot water bottle or like the underneath of the bed space, to something more universal and bigger of scale. For example, the faceless room right here on the bottom right, and the anomalous staircase to the left. Whiteread wanted to try to flip architecture and staircases and provide a new and particular challenge, which is what she did here. She made a 1 to 10 ratio scale and played with it a little bit, and saw that instead of wanting it to kind of flow as a staircase, she wanted to make it look disfigured, and flipped that and created this. She combined physical familiarity with the mental conundrum. Over the years, Whiteread has won some awards. In 1993, Rachel was awarded with the Turner Prize. This prize is an award organized by the Tate Gallery in Britain and is awarded annually to a chosen British visual artist under 50 years old. Rachel was also the first female to receive this award. This same year, she was also awarded a commission to produce a memorial to a Holocaust in the city of Vienna known as the Holocaust Memorial. Moving on to the process of how to cast like Whiteread. Rachel uses a range of materials, for example, concrete, rubber, resin, plaster, even to metal. She uses these to cast everyday objects and architectural space. Her work captures the negative spaces, and she uses these materials in unique and creative ways. Rachel enjoys casting because she feels as if she can stop an object in time and cast it into something solid. She also likes the minimalist style casting brings, and gets to explore the kinds of boundaries of historic minimal sculpture, and also about our memory and our own lives. In her pieces, she wants to portray and bring back the forgotten things, which is where memory comes into play. And next we'll see the video on how to cast like Rachel.
Hi, I'm Tara, and I'm going to show you how to cast like Rachel Whiteread. Rachel Whiteread's work uses industrial materials such as plaster, concrete, resin, and metal. She casts the surfaces and volume of everyday objects in architectural space. You can cast just about anything. Inspired by Rachel Whiteread's use of domestic objects, we will be casting a light bulb. You will need clay, plaster, jesmonite and catalyst, silicon and catalyst, pigment, clamps, tools, snacks, tea and a good book. The object you want to cast. Use your clay to secure the object to the work surface. Create a smooth and even clay bed around your object. Put some clay where you want your pouring hole to be. Make a channel around the object. Roll out the clay and cut it into strips. Build the clay walls around your object. Measure out the silicon. Add the catalyst. And mix together. Pour the silicon until the object is covered. Cover the whole thing in plastic and wait for the silicon to dry. Peel back the walls. Rebuild the walls to the edge of the clay bed. Make some keys in the clay. Get a bowl of water and a bowl of plaster. Add the plaster to the water until it starts settling on the surface. Mix the plaster until it's the consistency of double cream. Pour the plaster onto the silicon and wait for the plaster to dry. Peel back the walls and turn it over. Remove all the clay and give it a clean. Once it's clean, remember to replace the clay in the pouring hole. Rebuild the clay walls around the silicon. Pour the silicon. Take a break whilst the silicon dries. Peel back the clay walls. Build the clay walls around the plaster. Pour the plaster over the silicon. Take a break whilst you wait for the plaster to dry. Peel back the clay walls. Crack open the mould and remove the object. Clamp the two parts of the mould together. Mix the jesmonite and the catalyst. If you want to, add pigment to the mixture. Pour the jesmonite into the mould. Agitate the mould so the jesmonite coats all parts of the silicon. Wait for it to set. Remove the clamps and open your mould. Sand around the join line until you're happy with the finished product. That was my step-by-step of how to cast using plaster, silicone, jesmonite and clay. I hope you feel inspired to try casting for yourself.
Then we'll go back to, these are going to be my references and my citations. Thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you guys so much for listening, and thank you for letting me turn in my PowerPoint like this. And yes, thank you.